Good morning and welcome to Blain's Morning Porridge. It's the 4th of February 2026. Today, is Epstein just the tip of the iceberg? Let's have a quote. Chaos is a smokescreen for corruption. We will likely never know the full truth about Epstein. It's not a sex scandal. It's now a sordid tale of corruption, insider dealing, greed and arrogance that's dug deep into the highest echelons of business and society. It involves far more figures than the few who have been exposed thus far. Some corruption is hidden. Increasingly, much of it is in plain sight. Now, there are dark secrets about our society we'd rather keep quiet, pretending they don't happen, but the truth has a habit of seeping out. A trickle of insinuations can swiftly become a bombshell of facts. And there is just such a ticking bomb beneath the facade of the Anglo-Saxon economy. It's fizzling away in the background, and it threatens to crack open swathes of business, finance and politics, which means it has market implications. Denizens of the blob, the swamp, the establishment, or whatever entitled group of powerful folk who think they run the country are called, well, they're going to be increasingly nervous. Who will be exposed next? Now, so far, nobody has been able, or more correctly, willing, to explain just how Jeffrey Epstein became so wealthy, so well connected, so powerful, but such a threat he was removed from the board, with extreme prejudice when the cameras trained on his cell failed. The revelations from the latest batch of the Epstein files suggest a much deeper scandal is in prospect. It's no longer just a sordid tale of a perverted paedophile, abused women, and the reputational threat to those who partook of the pleasures he provided on his little island. Now it's about a network that smells of financial corruption, insider dealing, greed, and raw power. And all that is going to make electorates very, very angry and shake their confidence in the system still further. It's increasingly clear how Epstein's web leveraged power, knowledge, and wealth from the contacts and friendships he cultivated and corrupted. The sex and abuse were just elements, tools he used to achieve his goals and to obtain valuable information he could act upon. Epstein's business was based on exploiting the culture of arrogance, entitlement, and the expectation they will always get away with it that has always existed at the top end of society since we first climbed down from the trees. He nurtured his portfolio of the great and the good to garner the information, access, and insider status that informed and enabled his investment successes. He tried to stay in the shadows, hiding behind the facade of the quiet but enormously successful financial guru. But Epstein's fieldcraft was poor. He left too many clues, and his fondness for young girls left too many tears while being too exuberant not to be spotted. Epstein's world cracked when his conviction and jail time in Florida for underage sex raised too many questions and red walls. Yet many of his marks or contacts are still reliant on him, and they stuck with him, and they are the first to be dragged down in his wake. Now, the thing is that nations have long weaponized the use of honey traps, bribery, and corruption to achieve their goals. And they call it intelligence. We call it spying. Epstein did essentially the same thing on a private basis. It begs the question, do others like Epstein sit like tarantulas in the dark, feeding from the foolishness and credulity of the powerful? We will never likely know about the ones that are most successful because they are more skilled and less ostentatious, and they don't get caught. And do some of the darker corruptions sit hidden in plain sight? Well, yes, I believe they do. In the grand scale of things, despite all our shock and horror, Epstein might just be small fry, a bargain basement Bond villain compared to those who stay hidden. The case of a disgraced UK peer of the realm, Lord Peter Mandelson, illustrates how Epstein worked. Although he was a man of power in the UK, at the very centre of Blair's cool Britannia, Mandelson was a very poor man and was already in trouble for taking unexplainable loans from richer colleagues and contacts. Epstein spotted that weakness, befriended and supported him, paid his lover a stipend, and in return was made privy to insider information that is now being investigated by the UK police. Andrew Windsor, the chopper pilot formerly known as Prince, is another. He's a deeply flawed, arrogant, entitled fool, and Epstein knew it, playing upon his need for respect, ingratiating himself into his family, and no doubt garnering much information from the contracts that Windsor opened up to him. And until a full forensic analysis of Epstein's accounts and dealings can be done, and that's unlikely to ever happen because the rich and powerful will ensure it never happens, then we'll never know just how widely Epstein's net spread, who is guilty, and who else was feeding him information, thinking that careless insider tidbits about forthcoming deals were just minor favours in return for the previous night's party and the Russian hookers. The files illustrate how some women were fully engaged as part of Epstein's transactional approach to corruption, accepting with enthusiasm and expectations of high rewards his instruction to seduce targets and set up further liaisons. And let's be blunt, it's the oldest profession on the planet. Epstein was a despicable paedophile, but the women he provided his marks were tools of his trade. That doesn't excuse it. Many of them would be vulnerable and likely had been abused, giving them limited choices in lives. And we can bleat about how they were forced into the work, but it is the brutal reality of the world we live in. Epstein did not create it, he exploited it. Now, there's nothing wrong with consensual sex, and if it's understood that it's transactional, so be it. But what we must never condone is stupid men in positions of power accepting sex in return for illicit favours, as has happened. That's an abuse of power. It's obligatory and therefore a failure of their duty to electorates, shareholders, and a betrayal of friends and family. There are double standards in play here. Epstein is rightly revealed as a paedophile, yet there are others in power with convictions for sexual crimes and records of misogyny that are even more appalling. Some corruption is hidden, much is in plain sight. This morning we have the billionaire investor and Republican donor Ken Griffin making a public statement lambasting the President of the USA for enriching the families of the administration and asking if the public interest is being served. Griffin has previously warned that Trump's policies were placing the USA on a slippery slope to crony capitalism. Do I need to say more? Out of time and back to the day job. You can find the Morning Porridge on www.morningporridge.com. If you sign up, you'll get it delivered direct to your email every day, and you'll get access to this vlog and podcasts. Plus, you'll be able to give me ideas on what I should be writing about next. I'll be back tomorrow with something probably completely different. Thanks very much for your time.